statement that they would be required to hire X number of people in certain disciplines. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her first concern.
Right. And the answer is, as we're working at looking at reworking the abatement policy, we can certainly have that discussion. You know, the feedback that we've gotten from local industry, as we've said to them that we're considering rewriting the abatement policy, they've pretty much said, look, we want to be a partner in this, and we want some upfront notice. We're not disputing that you probably could change, and we're not disputing that that is purely within your control. We just don't want to be blindsided by it either. Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Is this something that you're doing? Can it be put on, voted on this fall in the election? And if they can, will it be? Or is most of this already a done deal and you're just having these town meetings and things to kind of, happen? Because everybody's already made the decision, the county, council and all that. And number two, I think until you get things in here for families, a building that you're going to build or changes downtown on the surface you're going to do is all for naught.
And I appreciate that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate your comments. Unfortunately, the question was, can we do more things to draw families to the community before we make the changes downtown? Is that?
Don't forget what I said about the vote.
Oh, the referendum. Thank you. Yeah. And what's your name, ma'am?
I'm Laura Brewer.
Thank you, Laura.
I live in the county.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's fine. So does he. He's a center district commissioner too, so you probably voted. I don't know. Maybe she didn't. But anyway, the question was referendum. Would this initiative be on the ballot in the fall, or could it be a referendum? I mean, quite frankly, Laura, we hadn't planned to do that.
Did you think about it?
I don't know what it requires. I don't know what it requires to do that. That's something that has to be done through the Secretary of State's office. It's just not something we've considered. The other question was families. What we're finding, the experiences we've seen in other communities is, it's chicken and egg. You know, we've got good schools. We've got high-functioning schools that graduate 98% of the students in the communities. We've got a thriving park system, but we don't have things for the adults. And the things that we seem to be missing are these gathering spaces. When we have the wine walk and the beer fest and things like that, and we talk to these people, they consistently say, we would love to come to this place if it were more inviting. We'd love to spend more time in the community if there was actually something to do. So we've created arts in the park, we've created music in the park, we're continuing to create those programs, but what it boils down to is all of those things are other places, not specifically in the downtown. And the downtown is the heart of every community. It's the downtown of the communities that we compete with. And quite frankly, Laura, the information and the expertise that we have tells us that's where we need to focus our efforts. The same gentleman who came and told us in 2013, Drew Klasik from the Public Policy Institute, who is not a consultant, he's not on the city's payroll, he works for Indiana University. When he saw on Fox 59 last week the story on the downtown, and then read it in the Shelbyville News, sent me an email that said, this is the best positive step as a community you can take to promote growth.
Yeah, I have another question.
Yes, ma'am.
You ever have the time? I'm thinking about these children that's coming up now. There's nothing.
Oh, that reminds me of another program. Yeah.
Go up Postcott Street or around any of the streets. These kids are on skateboards running down the street, and there's just nothing for them. And so therefore, to me, why would I want to, as an adult, want to come to a town? But number one, there's nothing there for my kids to do.
Okay, so number one, the skateboarders are a very small segment of the young population, and I have tried to engage them. And there's a woman here in town whose son is kind of the informal leader of that group. And I said to her, look, I understand your desire for a skate park. I understand that your desire for a BMX park. Have your kids get together and come and meet with me so we can work on a solution. That was almost 2 years ago. So I have extended the offer, and so far all I've had is aggravation from the downtown merchants and the police department because they continue to deface public property. Would love to help them, would love to work together with them for a solution because I think they need to take ownership and responsibility. I don't think it's up to us to build it and hand it to them without it being a collaborative effort. So I appreciate your comments, and not everybody knows that, but I have tried to reach out to them. They have not reached out to me. As far as the youth in the community, and quite frankly, the Boys Club and Girls Incorporated kicked off a capital campaign on May 11th because their numbers are growing specifically, and the numbers of kids that they're serving continues to increase. The numbers at the Parks Department through the summer programs are continuing to grow. So I would say that we are trying to address those things as much as we can. One of the things I forgot to mention, one of the other programs that the city and the county have started is called the Youth Assistance Program. And the Youth Assistance Program is something that is being run through the courts as a referral for children from ages, the youngest could be a couple of years old, to 18. Because what we're trying to do is reduce the number of kids, for whatever reason, who are going through the criminal justice system. And so we've created a coalition from the courts, the prosecutor's office, probation, community corrections, mental health, the schools, to create a network of providers to get these kids before they make that decision that puts them in the criminal system. And so that just started within the last 3 months.
3 months. 3 months.
And the city and the county are helping fund that as well with Drug Free Coalition. So we are, again, Laura, thank you for reminding me of that, trying to address that need as well. Yeah, Tom. Asking if you could step up and speak up a little bit when you ask your questions. This side can't hear. All right. Yes, Barbie.
Okay. Unfortunately, I'm the first one, I guess. There are a lot of things in Shelbyville for women to do, clubs, a lot of that kind of thing. Beer festival, adults. There are things for. Okay, I have a gravelly voice. You can repeat some of
Okay,
it.
I'll repeat it.
We have a lot of things for.
Here.
We have soccer. Who's a mic?
Yeah.
Mike's don't work. We have sports events, and when you think about it, all these things are done for separate members of the family. Laura kind of hit it. We need something for families to do together, and not something scheduled on a Friday night. Not a family trip. Not some specific time. I've talked to Tom about this. We need a YMCA. There are towns around us that are building our same size. Greensburg is building their second one. I have a lot of friends. I'm old. I mean, there are a lot of friends I have that belong to a YMCA exercise, and you can go there anytime you want. You can take your children, and they can do this. Your wife can do that, and you can do this, so that you can all go together on the spur of the moment, whenever you want to go. I think before we do anything else, or in conjunction, we have got to have a Y in this town.
Okay, so for those of you who didn't hear, Barbie was saying that there needs to be more activities that are family oriented, and she's suggesting Shelbyville needs a YMCA. Betsy Stevens, when we were meeting as a group on the intergenerational facility, contacted YMCA, and they said that they are not promoting growth at this time. So we asked YMCA specifically if they would have an interest in Shelbyville or Shelby County, and the answer she received was no.
We are not permitted to build one.
No, because it's franchise.
But also, I was in Denver for a while, and YMCA is so expensive. There are other options. I mean, it's
Well, we need some kind of an option then. Maybe it's a parallel.
honestly, I think it's something that Girls Club should kind of look at doing something
they don't have a pool.
And we have been approached. Yeah, we have been approached by the school system to take over the pool at the middle school, and so we have been exploring that. But I know it needs a significant amount of work. Now that
We tried that once. Yeah. No, you need. We need. We need one. And why can't we? Why we need to call it YMCA? Why can't we have our own? Yeah, the new park. But you, yeah, you as mayor, I did as much research as I could. I don't even do the polls, but you could look into how to have something like that. I have another question. Rex, stand up.
she's still encouraging me to look at a concept like a YMCA.
Okay, my next question is about the family. I want to know who is going to live in this big apartment building on Harrison Street. I'll have to answer that question.
Okay. The apartment building on Harrison Street is being built right now. She wants to know who's going to live in the apartment building on Harrison Street. The apartment building that's being built on North Harrison Street right now is senior apartments, and they already have. It's the same company that has Hendricks Point, and they have a waiting list of seniors over there. So a lot of the people who are on the waiting list over there will go to this facility as well.
Okay, and then we'll have a school for adults. Where will all these people park? With the, are you still going ahead with the underground garage? And I don't have one friend my age that would go underground.
Understand that. She's asking about the underground parking garage. Quite frankly, that is not my prime choice either. Liz mentioned the water table. We did do significant boring and study of the water table, and the water table is deep enough that we could do a single level without having to pump. I don't like the cost and the maintenance expense, so we're looking at surface lot options as well. But again, it has to be conveniently located, and we have 4 locations that are being considered right now.
But
And
how about that? The people in that building?
oh yeah, the people in that building. Do you remember Roberta's? Roberta's, they kept that building, and that will be used for indoor parking for those residents.
Those people and the school?
School people, there will still be parallel parking on Harrison Street and parking on Franklin Street too.
And this is during the school will be all day and as well.
I don't think it'll be evening. It'll be during the day, as I recall.
These parking places that people are downtown. Okay, I have one more question. I'm sorry.
Okay.
The time frame of redoing this.
She's asking about the time frame for the improvements downtown. It could be we could start as quickly as 2 years. We could start in 4 years. A lot of it depends on grant funding. If we make the stellar designation, then those dollars are dictated by the state and federal government. If we do not get the stellar designation, or we choose not to go that way, we could apply local monies and start within 2 years. Because none of the construction, we still haven't decided the garage yet. We still haven't decided which of the things we want to keep and which we want to eliminate. And there are no construction drawings yet. We'd still have to develop those. We would have to go to bid, and that's a lengthy process as well.
How long will it take to build?
It depends on how we prioritize it, because one of the key things that we've decided that we have to do is we have to work with the existing business downtown to minimize the disruption for their operations. Okay, there is no intent to run anybody out of business. And we have heard from multiple people that they have a concern that construction would be a detriment to their business. So one of the things that we've pledged, that I've pledged to do, is to make them part of that discussion and part of that scheduling. Okay? Is that it, Barbie? Yeah, Doug.
Clarify what the paper's been using as forgivable loans, not to throw Joanne and Mitch under the bus, but the paper keeps saying you're gonna give them $100,000 from you in the county, forgivable loans.
Oh, for the
Can you clarify, are you gonna give them money and nobody has to pay it back? 'Cause we would like what you want to go to,
okay.
without going through the Main Street test.
Sure. So for the brewery specifically, when they came to us and made a request, we looked at their proposal. They're putting $1 million in that building. They're hiring 80 people, and they're generating, and I can't remember what the revenue generation numbers were proposed. So informally, as a rule, we've decided that we would do $1 for 10. So for you, for example, Doug, if you wanted to put $1 million in your building, and you wanted to come to us and tell us you're hiring X number of people, and you were going to make X number of improvements with that $1 million, we would consider that loan. The forgivable portion is over a period, I think, of 5 years. Is it 5 years? I can't recall, 3 or 5. And they have to use the money for improvements that will add to the value of the property, meaning it increases the net assessed value. So any improvements that they make have to be parking lot, building facade, the deck outside, things that will add tax value to the property. Okay? If they don't hit those benchmarks, then they would be required to repay at a prorated level depending on where we are when those benchmarks are not met.
Still, are you going to an economic study of what's going to cost? Now, I asked you this before. How much are property taxes going up for Nancy Siemens, or what's the, when you do this?
Right.
Somebody's got to pay along the line. You know, are property taxes going up a certain amount? How much is that going to be?
Well, keep in mind, we have property tax caps, so we can only grow a certain percentage, 2% every year. We have circuit breaker, which impacts the amount of money we can collect, and we have an established tax rate with a max levy. So it's not as simple as me saying, I'm going to put $20 million on your backs, and your taxes are going to have to go up to pay it. There are certain parameters that we have to operate within, and quite frankly, with the debt schedule that we have now, with debt rolling off in 17 and again in 19, we have existing capacity under the existing tax rate to pay for some of this project, if not most of it. And we also have Racino dollars as well. So the goal is to complete the project without having an impact on the tax rate using the existing confines that we have now with grants and Racino dollars as well. Okay? Somebody, oh yeah, yes.
I have two questions for you. I don't know if you guys can hear me. What my first question is, it's great with all the development we're trying to do for downtown. My first question is, what are we going to do, or what is the plan with all of the buildings that are vacant? I mean, we're talking about putting a new Kroger marker place. We have the Marsh building, that's going to be a Kroger building. We have Hirschland's. I mean, I have two teenage daughters, and I'll be honest, they ask that question every time we drive down the street in Shelbyville. What are they going to do with all of these buildings? And so that's part one. Part two is, again, having two teenage daughters, retail. And I know we keep talking about bringing people in, but I will tell you, a majority of my money, our money that's earned, goes to Johnson County, Marion County, because we're running to Greenwood Mall, to Target, because only place that I can really purchase things for my two girls, well, it was Cato, but now they don't sell youth clothes. And then you have Goodies, which is a very small place. So when you have children who we have, you look at the high school, 1,000 students, the middle school, 1,000 students, 2,000. Lord forbid, the boys have nowhere to shop. I mean, so the retail for Shelby County is really non-existent. I was raised and born here. There were tons of shops downtown. I mean, you would go to Bel Air Plaza, a ton of places to shop, and as a parent, to hear your kids say they don't want to come back here and live when they graduate college because this is what it looks like. I mean, it is kind of discouraging to hear that, and so I'm just curious about the buildings, and two, what are we going to do about retail? Because I feel like even in my age group, if I was a person who didn't live here, I would drive right through Shelbyville and go to the next city because there isn't anything enticing for me to bring my family here.
Okay. So the question she's asking is, what are we going to do to address the needs for retail, and what are we going to do about the vacant buildings? She specifically mentioned Bel Air and Marsh and Kroger. Right? And Orscheln. Okay. Golden Corral sold. So,
You got it. You got it.
don't know. We don't know yet, but it did sell.
Oh, that's great.
So there's going to be some sort of a retail or a redevelopment of that site.
Good.
Okay, so let's talk about Bel Air. Bel Air Shopping Center is owned by a company called Mercar in Chicago, Illinois. They are, if anybody followed the papers about 7 years ago, one of the most difficult difficult groups we've ever dealt with. We had to sue them to get them to maintain the building, to improve the roof, the parking lot, the facade where Goody's used to be was falling off. So we had to sue them to get them to escrow about $900,000 to make improvements. Nancy Smith, who's with Carpenter Realty, has had 2 different people who wanted to buy that facility, and they won't return the phone calls. The information that we have is they use it as a tax write-off. And so there's very little that we can do other than enforce the building and the life safety codes out there. Quite frankly, if we could redevelop that site, if you know what I mean, we would be all in favor of that. The Marsh building, Marsh is paying lease on that building until November of 2017. Every month they pay a lease payment to the owner of that building. The owner of that building is getting his money regardless of if it's empty or if it's full, and has no real motivation until closer to November of next year to do anything with it. And so I don't know that he's actively marketing it, quite frankly. As far as the Kroger building, when Kroger came to town, when they met with us and talked about redevelop or building a new facility, we asked them specifically what they were doing to recruit a tenant for their existing building. They assured us that they're doing that. I don't know that we can hold a gun to their head. I don't know if it was discussed at the Plan Commission, Terry or Joanne, but we certainly have been on them about that from day one. As far as retail, again, we're going back to the chicken and the egg, Nicole. We've got to increase the educational attainment level here to drive the skill of the workforce up, to command a higher wage, to have a higher disposable income, to be more attractive to retail, because they look at disposable income, property, and region. And so we've got to impact some of those things, and we've got to get in front of the retailers, because quite frankly, if we don't market ourselves in some way, shape, or form, they're not going to come look at Shelbyville, Indiana.
Can I just make a comment? And this is just, we frequent the Lowe's in Franklin quite often. It just so happened we were over there buying a door one day. The district manager just happened to be there and was asking where we were from, where was anything delivered. We told him, his words exactly, oh, we tried to do a location over there. Pretty much we were run out of town. So happens the same thing. So that is just what was said. And my third question I have real quick is, have we ever thought about developing along 74? I mean, I remember when the casino was built and the talk was restaurants and hotels and whatnot that were going to be developed along 74. And I look at cities like Columbus and Greenwood and Johnson County that really have utilized 65 and 31 as a means to really build their communities. And we have a major highway that runs through our county. And it's like the casino went out there, and then we have the horses that are coming, but just have we ever thought about developing along 74 to entice more people to come or more businesses?
Well, I guess my first comment would be, as far as development out that way, number one, the casino still has plans,
Okay.
and those plans would move forward if it were not for the comments made at the State House about the aversion to live dealers. And so when all of these plans were made, all of their growth plans were projected, they were predicated upon live dealers. And we found out that the governor did not support live dealers. And so they have had to adjust their growth plans, okay? So they still have plans for a hotel. They still have plans for renovating the track side, the pavilion, thank you. And they still have plans for additional restaurant, and they're talking to other retailers. I'm not going to speak as if I'm an expert in gambling, because I'm not, but they tell me that there's a psychology to gaming, that if you have a live dealer, the individual will stay longer, spend more money, and stay on property in a hotel and visit those other facilities. We went to the State House. I testified on the House floor. I testified in 2 committee hearings. I gave a handwritten letter to the governor last March asking him to change the stance on table games, and it went nowhere. So that it is what it is. As far as development on 74, a lot of that will happen, I believe, when the hospital opens, because now you have a magnet out there with 1,000 people who need services. And you will see a renewed interest, or a new interest, I think, in the supporting services around the hospital. As far as that area between Intelleplex and the casino, a lot of that is farm ground that's not served by utilities. And so unless there is an end user interested specifically in that, that won't develop. If you look at the comprehensive plan and the future land use map of both the city and the county, we have those ready to go for the zoning for development in either commercial or industrial on the other side where Tom Hession Drive was just constructed. And we have a prospect looking at one of those sites on the Tom Hession side, and we've been in negotiations with the water company to serve that side as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I'll share one problem with getting a restaurant or a business to Shelbyville. I happen to know the owners of a regional franchise and a national franchise. I've even talked to the owner out of Wisconsin. That gives you a clue as to what the unique establishment is. They want in Shelbyville. And a lot of us go to Reedville and Fishers to their other restaurants. However, and I'm going to name names because I think it needs to be named and maybe the city needs to talk to them. Summerfield and Hunt will not negotiate. They've looked at their properties out by 74 and also their, the old GE location. Because they always are near interstates or they're near where there's other restaurants things. They will not negotiate with them. So they said, we can't afford to come. And they need at least an acre. And believe me, it will bring a lot of money to Shelbyville because a lot of us instead of going out of town to eat there maybe half a dozen times a month. The people I see up there too. So what can we do to get some of these people that own the land?
Well, the first thing I want to do is when we're done here, I want to get the name of the restaurant from you so I can go to Dave and ask him, is this the truth? Which reminded me, you said the manager of Franklin.
District manager.
Yeah, okay, so the district manager at Lowe's told you they were running out of town. We had approved their site plan and all they had to do was apply for permits. So they
That's
had
why I
gotten,
said I was going to
they had
ask.
gotten plan commission approval in 2007, and all they had to do was get permits. So he's misinformed. And
Yeah,
Liz, if you'll get me that name,
Do you have any idea why they pulled out?
the economy crashed.
Yeah.
The housing bubble burst and nobody was spending money.
And, retail's going down anyway, shopping malls.
Yes,
and that,
yeah.
So they're all having that time.
She was asking for a larger picture of the downtown plan and expressing her concern with the underground parking garage. So again, I have pictures here we can look at if anybody's interested after the meeting. I've got several views of it, Terry. So, yeah, Justin.
I know you talked about 4 maybe locations for parking. One of them is underground on the circle. Where, Val, do you have any idea of the other 3? I know you've got 3 in mind specifically. Do you mind sharing?
Well, yes, because we haven't gotten a deal with the property owners yet.
Have
So,
you-
so immediately as soon
Have you
as
reached out to them?
Oh
yet?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But you being in real estate, no. As soon as we publicize this, the price goes. So, all right. Yes. Yes, sir.
Are our elected officials going to make a decision on this proposal, or are you going to let the public vote on it?
Well, she had asked that question earlier. We've been getting. Okay, so she asked. Laura had asked if it was going to be a referendum, if it was going to be voted on in the fall. Probably not. The elected officials are the ones who would be making that decision. But we've been spending. This is our 17th public meeting on this, and the feedback we've been getting to this point has been pretty positive.
On the negative,
And I appreciate that.
I cannot see $226 million of the taxpayers' money that we don't have. I mean, you're projecting that we're going to have extra money, 5 years down the road? something else in 2 years that's gonna cost 40 million. I just can't, I'm not for it at all. I'm especially not for an underground garage. That's stupid to take out parking spaces you already have and then build a new one. It don't make sense. It doesn't make dollar sense to me. But I'm old and I'm not gonna have to pay for it. But I am a voter, and I will change my vote the next time, knowing that I am a Democrat.
I appreciate that, and I hear what you're saying. Thank you.
Get it again.
The parking will be far from the circle,
No, not necessarily.
not necessarily, so we'll be able to park and go to the store.
It has to be, Barbie is asking where the potential surface lot parking would be. It has to be conveniently located because of the apartments downtown. Now that being said, we all drive to Walmart, we all go to the mall, and we walk a fair distance to get where we're going. So a lot of that is perception. But number one, somebody made a comment about, Liz had made a comment about handicap parking. Certainly that is being considered as well. But the key to the apartments and the condos that we've already got interest in, this isn't a pipe dream. A company called Sperry Van Ness has bought the building that houses the license branch and Fiscetti's, and they are working with an architect to have apartments designed for that space up above. And then we've got condos being shopped in another building downtown as well. And well, the parking has to be close enough for them to be viable.
So they could be using all the parking places.
No,
downtown.
I don't think so. Yes, ma'am.
This probably has already been answered, but the condos that you're talking about downtown apartment building, this isn't gonna be more low income housing.
We're done.
No Section 8, no nothing like that. Okay.
She was asking if the condos and the apartments downtown would be subsidized housing or Section 8. The answer is no. We're trying to raise that demographic, market rate apartments, people that would be contributing to the economy. So the answer to her question is no. Yeah, Marianne.
I think in this vote years ago, whatever my pictures look like about Moses, but I was like, they were not much older shelter. And it was old moving, it was old and they were not, I think that's what this is. They know what they're looking at. We don't have, and we're not gonna do it, but we can. And we need to build it. So they won't come.
So Marianne was indicating that if we don't make substantial changes downtown, we will not progress as a community. And so I appreciate that. Thank you, Marianne. And quite frankly, regardless of what we do, if we don't do something, we're going to die as a community. And we can see that. And I would ask for some deference from the media. Maybe I shouldn't because the radio's on. Anybody who's interested, I've got an axiom that the mayor of Rushville and I trade back and forth. See me privately and I'll tell it to you. But anyway, if we do not improve as a community, we will die as a community. And we have seen that in other communities that I will not name, but are within driving distance east of here. And it's because they lost their industry, they're losing their retail, their housing market is in decline, and I feel very bad for those people because the solution to that problem is very difficult. And we have an opportunity here to make a positive change in the community. And I appreciate your concern, sir, and I heard everything you said, but I firmly believe that if we don't make these changes, we will not grow as a community.
Referendum on the ballot box is only going to get you, this is an election year, what was the turnout for voters in Shelby County?
40%.
Yeah, so it's not going to be a majority of the populace vote anyway.
Tom,
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
not just moving people in, it's getting us to stay.
It's getting us to stay and our children to come home.
Right, because I drive to 116th and Meridian every day to go to work.
Right.
And back home every day. And I have considered moving because there is nothing here.
Right. Her comment was it's not just about getting people to come here, it's about getting the existing residents to stay and their children to come back home. Yeah, Larry. Understand. And that's coming. asking about the status of the Methodist building. Methodist building has submitted a design release to the state of Indiana for work to begin on the first floor. And so we're waiting on that release back. They're working with an architect. They're working with a company called Brandt Construction to do the remodeling of that building. So Larry, something is getting ready to happen there. He also suggested that that building be torn down and a parking garage be built there. That one strikes a nerve as much as the tower proposal downtown. I have heard half of the people say tear it down and build a parking garage, and I've heard half of the people say preserve it. It's an architectural icon. Quite frankly, I like it. It speaks to me. So that's probably the one place, Larry, where you and I would differ.
I just noticed the new Butler University parking garage. Have you been by it?
I have not.
They put the new restaurant in it. It's actually gorgeous, all retail and a parking garage above it.
I've looked at the parking garage.
So you can't really tell it's a parking garage.
Yeah, and I've looked at the ones in Columbus. I spent some time down in Columbus just walking and looking at that.
Retail underneath.
Right, right. You do a liner building, so to speak, where you've got storefronts and then the parking. If you go to a place called Cityway in Indianapolis by the stadium, the YMCA is right there. There's a hotel there. There's restaurants there, and the parking garage is tucked in back there. It is, yeah. So there are creative opportunities there. Yes, sir. Yeah, you.
Sorry, but I don't have an issue with condos building underground parking. I have an issue with the city building underground parking. I mean, me personally, I think condos that are served parking in their building. Also, since the hospital is moving, wouldn't it be better to build stuff down toward the hospital instead of turning the circle? I mean, the circle works. I mean, yeah, we kind of need to slow people down. I mean, I see people going 30 miles an hour. And I don't have an issue with being shut down during a certain festival. Maybe we should put emphasis on probably certain roads, as some other towns have done, to pull people off of the circle. And there's already signs posted on trucks. So technically, when the trucks go around the circle, they should be fine.
It should be, but it's a state road. It receives federal funding. And so, as we have been told, it's more of a suggestion than a mandate. And until we own the road and it's a local street, then we can definitively say no trucks.
Okay. But I was going to say it's posted and it shows truck stops or whatever because I've been notified because I'm a truck driver.
Okay.
Which I have left the city. I'm living here currently, but I'm on my way out because I've put in like 200 applications and no one hired me because I'm like qualified. And they don't pay me what I want to do.
Yeah, there's.
I mean, it's pretty bad, you know, you lose your job and you're trying to find a job in town and then you see people's house and you end up leaving because you keep talking about because people tell you that you can't qualify to do work and it's like, well, I want to work. It's got, yeah, this is but now I'm back and I got my job. Money gets the money is spending $39 million. I mean, it's still $39 million because it's coming from the local. It's still taxpayer money. I mean, it's still paying for people. And they should. It's a donation, but we're still paying for it. So it's still people's money in work.
Well, that's private investment too. It's not any form of tax dollars. So it would be.
No, okay, right. But it's still people are really putting money into it. I just think it's way too much money. The grassy area, the circle, is running straight through. Which I don't really have an issue with running straight through. It's just basically utilize circles like because it makes it really hard to get to. Because I was looking at the picture and coming south, there's no way to get to our picture. Except take the side roads. There's two side roads. Yeah. And most of the side roads.
Sure. He's got several different views on it. Guess
Got one of those, sir?
yeah, no, they're each different. They're each different views.
They're both the same, just different.
Yeah, there's bird's eye perspective.
Okay.
There's different ones here.
I'm glad you got a question, Kevin.
Well, yeah. I don't know. The presentation was made to the county council at their last week's meeting, and that's the first after the mayor had made the presentation
Somebody
public.
swiped
It
the overall
is.
one.
It was brought it over and.
Yeah.
And it was last week's
They
meeting.
took 'em.
Not really had any
Here it is.
discussion.
No, that's it.